You might not believe it, but we have had some really terrible weather over the past few days, even though right now outside you can see the sun is shining. We even have blue sky. Can you believe it? Well, you have to, because there it is on your screen right now. We are all together once again. It's lovely to have your company. This is English Addict coming to you live and direct from the birthplace of the English language. You know where it is. We all know where it is. It is, of course, England. Let's go. Oh, there you are. Hi everybody, this is Mr. Duncan in England. How are you today? Are you okay? I hope so. Are you happy? Are you feeling happy today? I hope you are. I have one of these on my face right now. This is the real one. This is the one that I like to use to encourage you to have a smile, because that is what life is all about. Sometimes as we go through life we have to have a little bit of fun, because what is life without a smile, without a laugh, without a nice warm hug? Think of this as a nice warm hug through the internet. My name is Mr. Duncan. I live in England. I think I've mentioned that already, and I am an English addict, just as it says down there on the screen. I hope you are having a good Sunday. Also, I suppose I should say Happy New Year if I haven't said it to you yet. Of course, if I've already said it, please disregard my greeting. If you disregard something, it means you ignore it. You push that thing aside. You disregard that particular thing. So if I have already said Happy New Year to you, you do not have to worry about it. You don't have to wave to me or give me a big kiss on the nose. Nothing like that. Please disregard my greeting. However, if I haven't said it, can I wish you a lovely super duper 2025. We are here again. Once more, we are back together, and I hope you have had a lovely, lovely week whilst I've been away. Did you see my new lesson? I filmed a lesson during the week on the coldest day of the year so far. In fact, it may have been the coldest day of this winter. -6. That is 6 degrees below zero. It was absolutely freezing. Did you see my lesson all about the word freeze? And quite literally, I was freezing. Certain parts of my body were really suffering. I won't tell you which parts or where they were, but let's just say they were not having a good time. Some of those things were actually quite shriveled. Now there's another good word. Already you will notice that I like using interesting English words. Something that is shriveled. If it shrivels, it means it shrinks. It becomes much smaller than it normally is. It shrivels. Parts of your body might shrivel on a cold day. Certain types of food, if you leave it out, it will shrivel. It will become dry and it will shrink away to nothing. I know that feeling very well. You may have noticed that I'm wearing my scarf in the studio just to demonstrate how cold the weather is at the moment. Although, having said that, we do have sunshine, and the lovely weather people have promised that the weather is going to get better during the week. So next week it is going to get warm again. Isn't that lovely? I should not forget you. Don't worry, I will say hello to you in a moment out there. Of course, it is Sunday, which means that we have the one, the only, Mr. Steve will be with us at around about 2:30. We had a busy week last week because we had to go to have our medical checkups. Lots of boring information that I could give you at the moment, but I'm not going to. It's all connected to things like insurance and other things like that. Quite often you have to undertake some sort of medical examination. That doesn't mean that we are training to be doctors. So you might say that a medical exam sounds as if we are studying to be doctors, but we are not. So the medical exam was actually on us. We might talk a little bit about that later on. When Mr. Steve joins us, he was out this morning having a walk. We had a lovely walk yesterday. We were outside. It was freezing cold, but as you know, I love filming everything around me, and yesterday was no exception. Take a look at what we saw yesterday whilst walking around on our freezing cold walk around the area in which I live. We had the most amazing walk yesterday. It was freezing cold, but everything around us was beautiful and scenic. I have to say, it did look lovely. Yes, I know, I forgot to open my microphone then. You might find that I will be doing that quite a lot today because I've had such a busy day today. Very, very busy. I hope you are having a good time as well. Can I say hello to the live chat? Hello, live chat. Nice to see you here. Congratulations to Beatrice. Beatrice, guess what? You are first on today's live chat. Beatrice, you are first on today's live chat. Congratulations, and I hope you are feeling good today. In second place, we have Vitas. Hello, Vitas. Nice to see you here as well. Vitas is with us also. And yes, he is here as usual. You know who I'm talking about. Luis Mendez is here today. Hello, Luis. I hope you are feeling better, because I know last weekend you were under the weather. I hope today you are feeling much better, much brighter, and I hope you are in the mood for English Addict. Claudia is here. Hello, Claudia. Hello also, Unique Way. Nice to see you with us as well. We also have Florence, Bella. Hello, Bella. It is a very long time since I saw you on the live chat. It is very nice to see you back. Jamie is here. Jamie Bolivar says hello to everybody. That is very friendly of you. Thank you very much. Also, we have Maruzio. Hello to you as well. Palmyra is here as well. Hello, Iron Z. Iron Z or Iron Z. Hello to Mr. Duncan. That's me, by the way, just in case you're wondering. Rungsak is here. I haven't seen you for a long time as well. Nice to see you back. We also have Pedro Belmont is here today. Hello, Pedro. Nice to see you back also. Christina is here. Oh, hello, Christina. Can I say a big thank you? We had a nice surprise yesterday morning. It came through our letterbox. Thank you very much for your lovely Christmas card, all the way from lovely Italy. Isn't that lovely? And there is Father Christmas putting out the gifts for the children. So thank you, Christina, for your lovely card and the beautiful greeting inside as well. Mr. Steve and myself, we were very moved by your lovely thought. Thank you. Hello, Edwin. Mr. Duncan, you are such a great teacher. I am learning a lot from you. Thank you, Edwin. That is very kind of you to say as well. Where are you watching? Please let me know. Edwin, where are you watching at the moment? Who else is here? Faribors is here. Also we have, who else is here? Rungsak is here as well. Nice to see you back. Lots of people joining us today. Virginia. Hello, Virginia Androne. I've never seen your name on the live chat before. Can you please tell me where you are watching? For two reasons. It is very interesting to find out, and also I am very, very nosy. I always like to find out these things. Today we have some very interesting topics to talk about. We are talking about being famous, having fame, being a celebrity. A lot of people think that being famous is a good thing. Quite often we see people who are famous as having glamorous lives. However, it is not always the case, as you may have seen over the past few days. Lots of celebrities, lots of famous people are having a pretty terrible time at the moment because of lots of the fires that have broken out around Los Angeles. So a lot of people at the moment are suffering, even the famous people. So even though a person is famous and they are probably quite rich, it doesn't mean their life is going to be easy. It doesn't mean they're going to have an easy life. Their life will not always be simple and smooth. In fact, sometimes being famous can bring its own problems that you didn't have before. Being famous can do that. So we are looking at that later. We are talking about fame and misfortune. A lot of people say fame and fortune because people always assume if you are famous, you must also have a good life. However, as I said a few moments ago, if you are a celebrity, if you are famous, sometimes things can go quite bad, to be honest with you. Samarti. Hello, Samarti. Can you please say hi to Savesh and Hanu? Hello, Savesh. Hello also to Hanu as well. Thank you very much for watching. I have a feeling you are there at the moment. Are you in India? Because I have lots of lovely new viewers watching right now in India. So it is nice to have you here. Rungsak says, I want to be rich, but I don't want to be famous. You might be surprised to find out that quite a few people who become famous actually hate being famous. They don't like it. So even though you have a fairly comfortable life, because we often think if you are famous, then your life must be comfortable and glamorous. You will always be invited to lots of lovely parties, and quite often you will meet other famous people. But sometimes having fame can be a negative thing. Not everyone wants to be famous, and sometimes it is possible to become famous even though you don't want to be. We will look at all of those things later on. Here is some interesting information at the moment for all of you sports fans watching, especially those who like playing tennis or watching tennis. At the moment, in Australia, the tennis season is now underway in Melbourne. Yes, the Australian Open is now underway. Talking of which, so for all those who love tennis, that was especially for you. English Addict is with you today. I hope you are having a super duper Sunday. Wherever you are in the world, I hope it is going well. Can I say hello once again to Beatrice? Beatrice, I believe I have heard through the grapevine that you are not feeling very well at the moment. So can I wish you a speedy recovery? I think it has something to do with your back. Something I can sympathise with because quite often I have difficulty and problems with my stupid back. My reason, of course, is because I'm tall. And apparently, as you get older, if you are tall, and I am very tall, you can get lots of back problems and pain as you get older unfortunately. So I hope you are feeling better soon, Beatrice. Take it easy. Keep that sensitive area warm. One way or another. Keep it nice and comfortable and warm. So some people say if you have back pain, you should put something warm on the area. However, other people say that for certain types of back pain, you should actually use something very cold, like ice. So I think it depends on what type of back pain you have. But I hope you are feeling very well and very much better real soon. Mr. Steve is just 4 minutes away, which gives me a little bit of time to talk about an interesting English word. As you know, I love English very much. You might say that I am definitely an English addict. Here is an interesting word. I heard this used the other day. I heard this word mentioned, and it was all connected to people in authority, people who have a certain type of power. And this can be anything really. Maybe a person in your office, maybe a person who is your supervisor or your boss. Everyone can have some type of power, authority. That's a great word, by the way. When we look at the word authority, we are talking about a person who has a certain amount of power. And quite often, a person with power or authority might sometimes be harsh, to treat someone cruelly, an action. So the word harsh is actually an adjective, an action involving cruelty, to be cruel, to be brutal, to be severe with someone. So if you are severe with a person, you are treating them in a harsh way. We are using that word as an adjective. To be severe with someone or something. So perhaps you are being harsh with your motorbike or your car because it won't start in the morning. You might thump the car. You might kick your motorbike. You are being harsh with that thing. Something unpleasant to the senses. Something you can hear. For example, a sound can be harsh. Something that is unpleasant to the senses. So maybe a sound. Maybe Mr. Steve is warming up his voice. Sometimes the sound can be harsh. Please don't tell him I said that. Please don't. He will sulk for the rest of the day. So a sound can be harsh. Maybe colours or light can be harsh. So lighting that is too bright, we can say that the light is harsh. It is too much. Your senses do not like it. Harsh can also be used in noun form, and the noun form of harsh is harshness. Harshness is the noun form of harsh. A person might be known for their harshness. A cruel person will use harshness as a form of control. That person's methods are harsh as an adjective. So the word harsh is the adjective to show cruelty or brutality, and of course harshness is the noun form that is showing that that particular person is often cruel and mean. So people with authority. Now in my life, I have had some situations where I've come face to face with authority. We often think of the police. I have never been in trouble with the police. I've never been arrested and I've never been in trouble with the police. However, sometimes I do have a problem with certain types of authority. Normally when I return back from a holiday, quite often when I'm going through the airport with my suitcase, feeling very happy with myself, feeling really pleased because I'm back from my holiday, quite often a person will come up to me, normally a person in a uniform, and they will say, "Excuse me, sir, would you mind following me to that room over there?" And this happens quite often, and I don't know why. So quite often I am stopped by customs or the security customs in an airport, and they will often take me into another room and ask me questions and have a look inside my hand luggage. This has happened many times, not just once, not twice, but many times, and I don't know why. Why do people keep stopping me at the airport to search my luggage and ask me questions? Do I look like a person who might do something illegal like that? Of course not. Of course not. Mr. Steve is on his way. We are looking at fame. We are also looking at a very serious topic today. We are taking a look at scams. What is a scam? Find out later on. We will be looking at that subject. It isn't a very happy subject, but I'm sure we can still have some fun even with that. Okay, everyone, he's on his way. He's coming. You don't have to wait any longer. Mr. Steve is on his way. boy now. English Addict is with you today. I hope you are having a good day. And I think your day is about to get much better than it is right now because he is on his way. A lot of people ask, Mr. Duncan, can we please have Mr. Steve at the start of the live stream? Well, all I can say is you are lucky to get him, even at this point in time, because he is a man who always has something to do. In fact, he has some extra jobs that he has to do now because I will tell him in a moment. Here he comes, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It is the one, the only, Mr. Steve.
Hello, wonderful, beautiful viewers from across the globe. Here we all are again on Sunday afternoon, trying to get you to improve your English. That's our mandate. There's a good word for you, mandate. And you can look that up. And we want to have a bit of fun and laughter as well. Not too serious. And of course, I'm Mr. Duncan's assistant. If you haven't seen me before, well, I say assistant, but really, I'm in charge. No, I'm only joking. But as usual, we've got lots of interesting things to talk about. I want to say hello to Beatrice because apparently I've been reading on the live chat. She's not very well today.
No.
She's got sciatic pain, which is a pain you get. I think it's nerves in your back. It is. It's to do with this back pain that you get from a nerve. My mother used to suffer from that, and she used to have to go to bed. So we wish you better, and I hope Lewis is better because he had a bad cold, I think, last week.
Yes, I don't like to hear of our lovely viewers feeling unwell. Only we are allowed to be ill. Only we can have pain and discomfort. You shouldn't have it because let's face it, you put up with enough pain watching this. Let's be honest with you.
Well, surely this is therapy. Because you know what they say, if you're healthy in the mind, the body gets better. So laughter is the best medicine. So we'll try and make you laugh. We'll try not to be too serious today. And mind you, having said that, I'm like a loose cannon.
You can be.
I'm like a loose cannon or like a bull in a china shop. Anything can come out of this mouth.
Yes.
And as somebody pointed out last week,
or the other way round,
I'm a bit of an open book.
You are.
I don't tend to keep my thoughts in. They have to, if they're in here, they have to come out.
See, what you have to remember sometimes, Steve, what you have to remember is we are broadcasting live, and also I suppose you would describe this as a big responsibility. Would you say that this is a responsibility?
Yes, because we don't want to give incorrect information. Sometimes we tend to stray off a bit into areas that maybe we don't know enough about.
So when you say we, you mean you. Sometimes.
Yes, I mean we want to get the basics right, like word spellings and grammar and pronunciation.
Well, we have
I think we get all that right.
We have no problem with that because you're with me, you see. You're with the best, apparently. According to ChatGPT, I am the greatest English teacher on YouTube. And that's not me saying that. That is artificial intelligence.
Well, AI does not lie, so it must be true, Mr. Duncan.
Yes, that's it. They have programmed artificial intelligence never to tell lies. So if you ask who is the best English teacher on YouTube, ChatGPT and I think other artificial intelligence apps will put me almost at the top. And I think in one case I am actually at the top. So isn't that lovely? That's very nice to know, I have to say. We have lots of things to talk about, Steve.
Yes.
We are talking about fame today. And the reason why I've decided to bring this particular topic up is because, of course, we've been seeing the horrific pictures coming from Los Angeles and around the Hollywood Hills, where those terrible wildfires are spreading at the moment. And many celebrities or wealthy people with houses up there on the Hollywood Hills, because we all know, it's not a secret that the houses around there are very expensive, and many of the people living in those houses are famous. So I thought it would be interesting to take a look at fame as a subject, not just the up, not just the nice things, not just the glamour, but also things that might be seen as negative when we are talking about fame. And before anyone asks, no, I'm not famous.
Infamous.
Infamous. That's a good one.
Which is somebody who is famous, but for bad reasons.
I'm sure we can think of lots of people who are infamous.
People who have done bad things, but they become famous because of that. You know, they might commit horrendous crimes.
Yes, or just be known for doing something not very nice.
Yes, so they are known as infamous.
And also today we are looking at another subject which I think is also just as interesting. Scams. S-C-A-M. What is a scam? We will be looking at that later on, because over the Christmas period, a lot of people are, I would say that they are vulnerable because they are so busy doing lots of things. It might be a period of time where people might get caught out by some sort of trick that a person will try to put them through, or to play a trick on them. And by that, I mean to try and steal something from that person. Normally private information, or in some cases money. So we will be looking at that as well today. Last week we had a little assignment last week, didn't we, Steve? We had to go and have our little medical checkup last week for various reasons. Nothing serious, it's not us. Because as you can see, Mr. Steve, look at him. Look, you would not believe that he is nearly 80. But look how well he looks. And yes, I know what you're going to say, Mr. Duncan, you also look very young, but then I'm only 28, you see. So that's the reason why. There is a big age gap between us.
Age gap? 4 years?
Okay, 4 years. I'm younger than Mr. Steve. But I think we look great. I think we look great. So last week we had to go and have a medical examination. We had to be poked, stroked. They even had to feel our body. They had to take blood samples. They had to test our breathing. They had a look inside my ear to try and see if there is a brain in there. Apparently there is. For all those who say the opposite, there is a brain inside here. I have now medical evidence to prove that. So really everything was okay. The only thing the doctor said to me was I had to start cutting down on the amount of rubbish I eat. Nothing serious, but already this week, Steve, I've started it. I'm eating porridge again.
There's nothing like a blood test that shows you're in the red to motivate you into changing your lifestyle.
So the only real problem, and I think it was for both of us, was the dreaded cholesterol. It is the one thing, and for years and years. Now I remember growing up, Mr. Steve, when cholesterol started to be talked about, when they discovered that there was some sort of link between that level of the fattiness in your blood to other ailments and problems like heart disease, strokes. And now, of course, they are talking about certain types of dementia as well, could be linked to high cholesterol. So it's not very nice. So my doctor did say, Mr. Duncan, cut down on those fatty foods, you naughty, naughty man. And I think he said the same thing to you as well.
He did, but mine wasn't as high as yours.
No.
But what it shows is, actually, it's quite interesting as you get older, that even though I do quite a lot of exercise and I do watch my diet, that your cholesterol is still higher, that's slightly higher than it should be. So that's interesting. But what the doctor also said is that having a raised cholesterol isn't necessarily bad in itself, as long as you don't also have high blood pressure,
yes,
and or diabetes with it. Now, I'm not a medical expert.
No. But
disclaimer alert.
So from our point of view, so we're not giving medical advice, don't worry.
No, we are not.
But everything for me was clean and green. But just that cholesterol, Mr. Duncan, you need to get it down a little bit. Of course, I did say at the time, I said, you do realise this is the worst time of the year to have a medical checkup because we've just had Christmas. And you know what happens, Steve. We all eat too much food.
Particularly chocolate, cheese.
Yeah.
Biscuits,
yes, all the junk,
cakes. I would say my consumption of we're talking of animal fats, aren't we? We're talking saturated fats,
yes,
which are bad for you, which are typically the animal
which also
derived fats,
which also happens to be the really nice fats.
Yes, and we drink full fat milk, so we swap to semi-skimmed, things like that. Hopefully, this will make a difference,
yes.
But we don't need to do a huge amount. But it was worth going. I've never had a full health checkup before, but it was worth going at least to put your mind at rest. They looked certain things which you could be worrying about.
They looked in places. They looked at parts of my body that I didn't even know I had. They found things that I didn't even know I had. I think bits that were all tucked away and hidden. And they said, that's an unusual shape. The one thing they didn't do, Steve, and I don't know why, I've always wanted to have an ultrasound or one of those scans on my head. Does that sound strange? Because I've always wanted to have a look at my own brain. Now that might sound odd, but I'm always fascinated by what it actually looks like, because we just assume that everything in there is normal and the brain is a normal size. But what if your brain is very small? I might not even have a brain at all. It might just be full of sawdust or a piece of wood.
Well, if you knock Mr. Duncan's head, there's like a hollow sound. Yes, it sounds like like you're knocking a door. No, we're joking. Well, you don't really want to have those kind of scans if you can avoid it, because
just once.
I don't think they're particularly good for your body, because they're firing something into your head.
Yes.
So we really wouldn't want to do that. I think you can get a bit paranoid. You've got to enjoy life, as the doctor said. Don't cut everything out. You've got to enjoy life to a certain extent, and food, of course, is one of those things that we enjoy. What they always tell you in the UK, and what they have, the doctor that we saw earlier this week said, was to adopt a Mediterranean diet.
Oh, yes.
That is the recommended best practice or best diet for you, which is what they mean by a Mediterranean diet is lots of vegetables, fish, low carbs, and healthy fats. A Mediterranean diet, so maybe throw some olive oil in there, and eat small amounts often. But of course, even people from the Mediterranean probably aren't sticking to that diet in modern times, because it is quite, you've got to cook all your own food, really.
Yeah. So what basic types of food are you talking about?
How do you mean, Mr. Duncan?
Well, Mediterranean diet. What are the basic foods?
Yeah, as I said, fish, vegetables, high vegetables, sort of a fish or chicken diet, less of the red meats.
What about olive oil?
Pulses, olive oil.
Oh, yes.
Definitely. I mean, olive oil's got massive benefits to your system. But yeah, it's when you're younger, you don't have to worry about these things. By the way, I'm trying to pronounce my words as clearly as possible. There have been a few comments.
Yeah, but that's okay. Steve, you are here because your English and your speech is different from mine, so it gives everyone the chance to hear a natural conversation taking place. So you don't have to do it too much, Steve. So don't worry.
I know. I can't do any more.
No, you sound great to me. You sound great.
Oh, I might look great and sound great, but inside, particularly up here, if you could look in here, you would probably have a shock.
If anyone needs to have some sort of scan to have a look inside here, maybe it's Mr. Steve, but I would love to do that. What I want actually is to have a three-dimensional model made of my brain that I can have, and then I can put it as a paperweight somewhere. So they scan your brain, and then they will make an actual model of your actual brain, and then you can put it somewhere in your office. I think it would make a great gift for someone.
Yes, a Mediterranean diet is what is recommended. That's what they always say in the UK, because obviously we're not in the Mediterranean. Sort of those countries near the Mediterranean.
Yes.
Apparently that is a very healthy diet to eat.
That's it. It doesn't refer to the place, though. It refers to the types of food that are eaten.
Yes. Fish, vegetables, not going to excess. This is something we noticed when we went to visit Italy last year. That there were, I don't know whether it's just because where we were, our perception was that a lot of the people there were not particularly overweight.
No.
Compared to people in the UK.
In fact, I think we commented on this, didn't we, when we were with some of our lovely viewers? We actually said at the time, we don't see many people who are overweight or obese in Italy. Everyone seemed slim and not necessarily healthy, because one of the other things I noticed in Italy is lots of people like to smoke. So there were many people smoking, but we didn't see many people who were large in shape.
Exactly. Here we go, Santorino. Yeah. We just noticed that there weren't in the UK. You get so used to seeing overweight people that you think it's normal. But I mean, it wasn't when my mother grew up. She said you hardly ever saw anybody that was overweight. I mean, grant you, they were coming out of the war then,
yes,
and there was food rationing, but I think people just used to. There wasn't the availability of fast food. People didn't eat out. They all cooked at home. Things like that. There weren't packets of crisps everywhere and chocolate on sale in every street corner.
Well, you couldn't afford to overeat.
Well, that's it. I was just going to... Yeah, Christina says, hello, Christina, that it's our body that produces the cholesterol, not so much of what we eat. And that is true. I was always taught that when I was at college in medical matters, that it's the cholesterol you consume in food isn't what contributes mainly to the cholesterol reading in your blood. It's your liver that produces it in response to eating the wrong foods.
Yes.
So it's your body. You don't absorb much cholesterol from the food you eat. It's mainly the cholesterol in your blood is what your own body produces, because you do need cholesterol
That's
for a
it.
healthy body. You've got to have it.
In fact, when a couple of years ago, when I lost a little bit of weight, the doctor did warn me at the time not to lose too much weight because your cholesterol level also shouldn't fall too low. So I found that also interesting. And of course, it's not always bad either. I don't want to get too much in the technical stuff.
No.
But the good news is, for Mr. Steve and myself, we are okay. We're still alive. I have a feeling that we are going to be with you every Sunday. And also I will be with you every Wednesday for the foreseeable future. Isn't that good news? I'm not sure if it is good news. It's good news for me and also for Steve as well.
Lewis says, I don't like fish much, but I do eat it twice a week. Yes, that's it. Sometimes you have to eat foods which you know are good for you, but you don't particularly like. Which is why, I like cod and I like salmon and I like tuna. I actually do like them, but I like to put them in meals where the flavour is disguised, like a bolognese sauce, for example, for tuna. I wouldn't eat just tuna on its own, but I like to put it. I mean, I'm sure you do this, Lewis, but also things like cod.
Yes.
Cod is nice. Cod is a very plain, fairly tasteless fish, white fish. But if you put some batter on it, it's quite nice. So we like cod with, I think it's got like breadcrumbs on it or some kind of light batter.
Yeah. Steve, we've got to move on.
That's why fish and chips is so popular in the UK.
That's it. But that's pretty unhealthy. The irony is it's deep fried and it's full of all sorts of horrible grease and fat. Anyway, Steve, what I would love to have is a list, not many things, just a list of things that I can eat that are healthy but also don't taste disgusting. So I think that's the thing, isn't it? Because we've got some butter now. We've got some special butter, but it's supposed to reduce your cholesterol, but it also just happens to taste really disgusting. And that's the problem. So that's what puts me off. You know why I always go back to eating sweet things is because it's nice. It gives me pleasure. I feel a certain amount of pleasure when I eat a piece of chocolate or something sweet. And that's the reason why, you see. That's why I do it. But when we have to eat in a healthy way, Steve, you find that a lot of the things are really, really not very nice.
Well, we ought to be going to Saturino's house for the healthiest food, because looking at what they're eating there, lots of pasta without grease. We put pasta, olive oil, lentils, beans and chickpeas.
Good.
There we go. Beans, chickpeas, pulses like peas, beans. Lentils are very good for you. In India, lentils and rice is a staple food because it's got all the proteins in it that you need. So yes, and we do eat lentils, don't we? We have like a lentil dal once every 2 weeks. So yeah, I think we're pretty good. We've just got to cut back on biscuits, chocolates. I want biscuits and chocolates now, Mr. Duncan.
Yeah, well, this is it. Whenever I start thinking of healthy food, or if I look in the cupboard and there's nothing in there, I think that has to be the saddest moment. The moment that causes me the most distress is when I open the cupboard. Normally in that cupboard, there is maybe some biscuits or some crisps or something that I can just eat very quickly. But I open the cupboard and there's nothing in there. And I always feel slightly disappointed when I do that, when I open the cupboard, because sometimes I go and I hope maybe by magic that cupboard will be full of lovely things to eat. But then when I open it, there's nothing in there. There's nothing unhealthy.
Now, Palmyra talks about something very interesting. Stress produces cholesterol.
Mm.
And I have read this as well, that if you have long-term stress, it can make your body produce too much cholesterol.
Mm.
I'm not sure how much evidence there is for that clinically, but I mean, I read this on I think it was the NHS website, which is fairly, that's well-renowned website. So I think you can. So I think stress can make your body, even if you eat. Some people will have a high cholesterol no matter what they do because they've got some genetic fault. But certainly stress can, which is something we need to reduce.
In fact, I would say as an overall health benefit, not even mentioning diet or the things you eat, I think the biggest problem, if those two things are not there, is stress. So I think stress does have a very negative effect. We are coming up to 3 o'clock, Mr. Steve. Already I've been with you for an hour. We had lots of snow last week and then it went really cold, and we had a lovely walk yesterday in the snow, even though it wasn't particularly pleasant. Although Steve said today, you said that you went out earlier for a walk and now already a lot of the snow is vanishing, only to be replaced by mud.
Mud.
We don't like that. Not one bit. For those who've just joined us, you're watching English Addict with myself, Mr. Duncan, and also Mr. Steve as well. We have lots of things to talk about today. English Addict is with you today with myself, Mr. Duncan. Do you want at some point in your life to be famous? Fame. I want to live forever. I want to learn how to fly. Fame and fortune. We often think of those two words together, don't we, Steve? We think of fame and also we think of fortune. Now by that we mean the success that comes with being famous or well known normally brings some sort of comfort in your life, and by that we mean money. Of course we mean money. It can't be anything else, can it really?
Yes, normally if you're famous you will end up accumulating wealth because you've probably got some talent. That means people are prepared to pay a lot of money to have you on their television program, sing for them, or whatever it is. Or if you become very successful in business, and then you're likely to become famous, like the big tech companies in the US. Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and then we've got all the other big sort of tech companies, Microsoft, etc. Then if you're going to be famous just because you've got a very successful company.
Yes.
Somebody said earlier, by the way, that they thought that you weren't famous, Mr. Duncan, but you were very popular.
Yes, I think that's
true.
I think that's perfect. That's a perfect description. Whoever said that, you are absolutely 100%. You can be popular without being famous. So I wouldn't say that I'm famous in the fact that I could go out into the streets and walk around and people would know who I was. Although that did happen to us in Paris, didn't it, once? Somebody saw us and recognised me. That was still a very weird moment of time. But generally speaking, I would say that I'm popular on the internet. But away from here, no one knows who I am. Last week, for example, the doctor was examining me. They had no idea who I was. They didn't know I was on YouTube. They knew nothing about me. I was just another piece of meat in front of them to prod and poke. So being famous is often seen as something good, something that you want to have. However, quite often with fame, there can also be something we call misfortune as well. Misfortune means when things do not go as well as you want them to actually go. Fame is not necessarily a good thing. Fame and misfortune.
Well, Runsack said earlier, hello Runsack, that they'd like to be rich but not famous.
Yes.
Yes, because, So keep a low profile, make your money, but do it in a way that you don't have to be in the public eye, and thus be worried every time you leave the house that there are photographers there, the paparazzi, trying to catch you out, find out all about your life and then print it in a newspaper. Or, that's part of the downsides, isn't it? That somebody's jealous of you because you become famous, and then they try to make money because they've known you from a past life, and then they will sell their story to a newspaper about an affair you had with somebody.
Well, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people who become famous also like to have wealth as well. They expect those things to go together because the wealth will allow you to keep your distance or create that boundary of privacy. So I think being famous is great, but I think also you have to have a bit of security that goes with it. And by that I mean, I suppose money would be the main thing. And of course we've seen situations, Steve, where people have become famous and then things have gone dramatically wrong. Not always their fault. Sometimes other things can happen. As I mentioned earlier, we are looking at those terrible scenes coming from the United States with the terrible fires taking place across the Hollywood Hills. A part of Los Angeles, which is well known for the area where all the celebrities and superstars live. And at the moment, it is all going up in flames. So fame is not necessarily a good thing.
So are you saying, Mr. Duncan, that being famous, the downside is that you could move to a rich area and then your house burns down?
Well,
is that where you're going with this?
Well, in that sense, an area where you would think you would be safe and secure, there is always something that can change that situation. Maybe something unexpected, maybe something you were not expecting to happen. And of course, your own personal safety as well in all of those areas. By that I mean your personal safety. So if you become famous, Steve, there is often a price to pay. We often talk about the price of fame, and quite often there are things you have to give if you want to be famous, or if you become famous. There are certain things in your life that you must give away. Can you think what they are, Steve?
Well, Christina mentions John Lennon, famous, shot because somebody becomes obsessed with you. There's lots of cases of people, famous people, having fans that become a bit obsessed with them. And obviously in John Lennon's case, it led to his death. And I think Marilyn Monroe, there's another famous one.
Yes.
Because I think sometimes when people become famous, they find it difficult to cope with the fame. It must be pretty awful. Your life is always in the spotlight, everything you do, and the pressure to keep being famous, and the pressure to be, because I mean a lot of people, you do hear some people saying, I wanted to be famous. That was their motivation. Just being famous alone,
yes,
is a great motivation for some people. Other people become famous almost by accident because they've got a talent, and then that talent's been noticed, and then they've gone on maybe to TV or films, but so they've become famous through their talent, so to speak. But some people just want to be famous because they want to be famous, and they're not too bothered how they get that fame.
Yes.
I mean, there's a case at the moment of somebody. Maybe I shouldn't mention it.
Well, don't mention names.
I won't mention names. Somebody on the internet who is, let's say, has been in the news a lot because she has, let's just say, been having multiple partners.
Okay. Oh, yes. We'll stay clear of that one.
Okay, then.
For many reasons, including legal reasons. So we will stay away from that one. But fame can be, I suppose you might describe it as a double-edged sword. So there is something that can help you, but also something that might actually be damaging as well. And I think the worst one, Steve, is when you become famous, but you don't want to be famous. Maybe by accident you become famous. Maybe there is someone filming an event taking place and you are doing something, and maybe you are having just a moment of time where you are enjoying yourself. Maybe you are doing a silly dance, or maybe you are pulling a very strange face. And that person films what you are doing. And then suddenly that short video goes onto the internet. And then everyone knows who you are. But you have no control over that. And I think this is one of the big problems now with being famous. If you are well known and you have no control over it, that is the worst kind of fame, because you quite often you get nothing from it. So you won't earn money, you won't become rich and famous, you will just become famous. Maybe for doing something very silly.
And of course, once you're at that level, you probably want to remain famous, and that has its own pressures. Boy bands, a lot of people become famous and they're not really being looked after or protected from the effects of fame. And as we all know, that recently a famous boy band member died, fell out of a window in was it Buenos Aires? I think it was in Argentina, wasn't it? In Buenos Aires.
It was in Argentina, yes. Liam Payne.
I can't remember his name.
Liam Payne,
yes, that's right, who tragically lost his life. But that was all due to the pressures of fame. And something we've noticed before, Mr. Duncan, is that rich, famous people often take risks. Because often to become successful in business or in whatever it is you become famous or successful in, you have to have a certain mentality.
Well,
taking risks.
A certain way of thinking.
Yes, you get a thrill from that, but even by accident, for example, if you've got a lot of money, then you might want to get from one place to another in a helicopter, for example.
Yes.
And we know that helicopters are prone to falling out of the sky.
Well, they're not prone to it.
They're far more prone to it than a normal plane.
That means that's happening all the time.
Well, but you know what I'm saying.
Okay.
You're always hearing of rich, successful people dying in helicopter crashes.
Yes,
or private, or they decide to learn to fly or something like that. They do something risky because their personality is they want to push the boundaries to see what they can do, which is an admirable quality to have, to give yourself a goal to push your limits of your ability. But then at the same time, that then becomes dangerous. I mean, there was that case of that famous, I can't remember his name now, he was a famous rich, I think billionaire businessman, decided he wanted to go and see the Titanic, which is very deep in the ocean, and went down in one of these devices or whatever you call it, like a submarine, that takes you deep in the ocean. And of course, it's dangerous to do that. And it imploded and everyone was killed. The point I'm making is that quite often rich, successful or famous people will do risky things because it's almost in their nature. That's how they became rich and famous in the first place.
Because
by
they took
taking risks. So they like to push the boundaries of what they can do.
That's it. But I think it's in their nature to take those risks, and sometimes you can't stop doing it. It's almost like an addiction. You can't stop doing things that are dangerous, and eventually, maybe, perhaps, something bad will happen. So fame is often seen as a glamorous thing, but I can tell you now. Now, I'm going to tell you something, because something did happen to me a few years ago when I was living in China. I'm not going to say I became a superstar, but I did become well known in a certain area.
Yes, locally where you were.
Yes, because I was on television. The local TV station had used me for certain things, and then I'd appeared a couple of times at English speaking contests as the judge, and I even performed a song that was broadcast on television. So in the local area, I did become quite well known, quite famous, and it did happen. So I've had a taste of fame.
You were on TV as well.
Yes,
local TV.
That's it. That's what. Yes. So because people recognised me from television, they would see me in the street and they would know who I was, which was okay at first. But I have to say, after a while, it did become rather annoying because I didn't have the fortune. So I would walk around the town doing my shopping, and people would come up to me and start talking to me and asking me questions, and then just general things. I think for two reasons. One, because they recognised me, but also the other thing was because I'm an English teacher, so they knew that. So I think there were two things happening there. But after a while, it did become a little annoying and difficult, especially when people were starting to turn up in the area where I lived, and they were asking all of the shops and the shopkeepers where I lived. that was the point where I realised that being famous or well known, even in a small area, is not a good thing. Because I've had it happen to me for real.
See, if you'd stayed, you were a local celebrity, I would say, when you were in China.
Yes.
But this is how a lot of famous people start off. They become popular in a local area, and then they spread out from there. So you could have been popular all over China if you'd stayed by now.
Well, had I stayed
You've had
there,
your own English teaching school.
Had I stayed there, I don't think things would have worked out quite well, because China itself was changing, and it was changing into something that was the opposite to the things I represented, if that makes sense, because China wanted to go in a different direction. So I was useful there at that point in time. However, had I stayed there, I probably would have ended up leaving anyway, because the political system and the political climate in China was changing. Even while I was there, I could tell things were changing. But having fame is not necessarily a good thing. I will be honest with you. There is always a price to pay. And
it's your privacy, basically, isn't it?
Yes. You can't go out of the house. People will start to try and find you, and they will bother you when you're walking around the street, which is nice. It is lovely. Don't get me wrong, but it can be a little annoying as well. Fortunately, here in the UK, no one cares who I am. So I can walk around the streets, I can go anywhere, and people won't know me. Even though I think a couple of times in Much Wenlock, someone came up to me and asked if I was Mr. Duncan. But I have a feeling that maybe they were local and perhaps they'd seen me on the internet.
Maybe.
Who knows? But this is the thing, you see. This is the thing about what we do, Steve. You never know. We might do something on here 1 week, and then it becomes viral, and then suddenly everyone knows who we are. How would you feel about that, Mr. Steve? Would you like to be famous?
No, I think I'll take the Runsack approach, which is rich but not famous.
Ah,
But then it must be. I would be interested to see what it feels like to be famous, because I think, and somebody pointed this out earlier, you must feel almost invulnerable. I think you probably. I mean, we're talking from our perspective, really not being famous people, but it must be that you start to think that you're almost invulnerable, and that sort of normal life events can't affect you, and that nothing could possibly happen to you.
yes.
And maybe you believe too much what you're saying, particularly if you're. I'm thinking now of a famous sort of health expert who was a doctor in the UK, who had a television programme, a series of programmes, all about improving your health. He was actually a medical doctor. And a lot of his work was around exercise and pushing your body in order to extend your life was part of the something he used to talk about. He used to undergo interesting procedures for medical science and the TV. For example, he got himself infected with a tapeworm deliberately.
Yes.
Once, just to see what happens when you get infected with a tapeworm. Well, he was very well known in the UK, and he was always doing extreme exercise. And unfortunately, he decided when he was on holiday in I think it was a Greek island, in sort of 45-degree heat, to go off on a long trek into the hills, and sadly died. And I think that's a case of maybe you've just got things out of proportion, the sense of danger and reality. You're pushing things a bit too far because maybe you've become used to that fame, or you don't think anything can happen to you. But of course, if you push the limits of what the human body is capable of,
Yes.
if you don't have that support there at the time you need it, then you're taking a risk.
Yes. It's the difference between fame and the illusion that it presents and reality, which sometimes when you become famous or wealthy and famous, you might forget all about the reality of life. You almost become trapped in your fame, and it become. Sorry?
No, I was just saying yes, Christina. Yes, you've got the name right. I couldn't think of the name.
Okay.
Yeah, what were you saying? You become. You're almost in a bubble of where you're not really living in the real world anymore, even the physical real world, and you lose perception of maybe what's dangerous. So, I mean, if you were a celebrity and you needed to get from one gig to another or something, somebody might lay on a helicopter for you, but it's quicker than driving or going on the train or flying. But is that I'm not saying helicopters are dangerous, but is that a bigger risk? There was somebody recently who was it was a football player.
Okay.
Who was travelling back from France back to England for a match. I think it was last year or the year before. And they had to go from one match to another match. I think it was a football player. He was playing in one team.
I have no idea.
Yes, and they had to be at a certain place back in England for another football match, or had another engagement, and they took a private plane, a small private plane, somewhere from France back to England, and it got caught in bad weather and it crashed, and he was killed along with the pilot, of course. But a commercial airline would have been a lot safer. And so I'm just saying, you maybe get yourself involved in these more risky endeavours if you become rich and famous.
Yes. Well, it's not all about being killed anyway. Sometimes it's
No.
just having fame and then misusing it. And one of the big problems, I think, with being famous is quite often you will end up surrounded by people who won't say no to you. So you believe your own publicity. And this is one of the things that we talk about when we talk about the price of fame. Sometimes you can believe your own publicity. That means all of the things that the newspapers are printing about you and all the nice things they are saying, you actually believe that all of that is true, when most of it is just hype to promote your thing, your song, your movie, your show, anything. And I think that's part of the risk when you become famous, is you are always going to have people around you that will agree with everything you say. No one will ever say, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think you should build a huge swimming pool in your garden and have lots of luxurious parties late at night around the pool. Can I just say that might not be a good idea? If you are a celebrity, if you are becoming famous, there is one piece of advice I can give you. Never get a swimming pool. Have a house, have a lovely garden, but don't, whatever you do, don't have a swimming pool.
And certainly if you do want a swimming pool, don't invite lots of people around where there's lots of alcohol and other substances available.
Don't do it. I think if you look across history, Steve, at celebrities and celebrities involved with swimming pools, quite often the story is a bad one. It doesn't end well. So if you are famous, don't have a swimming pool. Leave the swimming pool somewhere else. Fill it in. Even if you move into a house and there is a swimming pool, just fill it full of concrete because it will eventually bring lots of bad luck your
Lewis
way.
mentioned something earlier that yes, even if you are famous, when you're gone, when you've left this earth, mortal coil.
You are really cheerful today.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, when you have, then it's not long before everybody just forgets about you.
Yeah.
And it's, unless you are really, really famous or infamous, then you will not be remembered for very long.
Yeah.
Just the same as all of us, really. I mean, we think of we're only remembered really as long as there are people still alive that remember us, and when they're gone, then we go. Although you, Mr. Duncan, will have your YouTube channel. People will be able to watch you in 1,000 years' time.
Well, maybe.
If YouTube is still allowing you on there.
Yeah, well, if YouTube still exists.
If YouTube still exists.
If the internet still exists, you see. So everything I do could just vanish completely without any warning. So if YouTube suddenly stopped being a company, if the internet suddenly stopped working, or maybe it became illegal to have the internet, suddenly I would vanish. It would be like a light being switched off.
Who was Brian Jones?
He was a member. Now I want to say the Who, but it probably isn't. But the Brian Jones
Died in a swimming pool.
He
yeah,
did.
Well, that.
There might be a very long list of celebrities who came to a bad end, or of course were involved in some sort of scandal connected to a swimming pool. We have at least two in this country. In England, there are at least two people who over the years have been involved in swimming pool situations that did not turn out very well. That's all I'm saying.
The other one to be wary of is if you become rich and or famous.
Rolling Stones.
Rolling Stones.
I knew I'd get it wrong. So I'm not a big fan of the Rolling Stones, you see, and they are a little bit before my time.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do see. I don't know if you were to take some analysis and look at the average life expectancy of a celebrity or a famous person compared to the general population.
Yes.
It's the perception is that quite a lot of celebrities seem to die, but is that of accidents or drugs or something?
Yeah.
But is that any more in proportion to a normal population or not?
Yeah, well,
I don't know that because we just happen to hear about it because they're famous and it's on the television.
Yes, because if the person that lives down the road from us, who nobody knows, falls down the stairs and breaks their neck, no one cares because no one knows who they are. But if a famous person does the same thing, suddenly it's huge news.
Yeah, so your perception is that a higher proportion of rich and famous people die young.
Yes.
Which, of course, some people don't mind because they probably don't like them anyway.
Okay.
But
these are weird directions.
Well, there's always a bit of jealousy, isn't there?
But I don't think celebrities die young. I think a lot of them, normally they fade away, and then eventually you hear of them again, but normally after they've died. So I think fame fades, and then the person dies, and then you hear about them again, and everyone goes, "Oh, I remember him. I remember that woman. Yes, she used to be in that TV show." So I think fame is a strange thing. We often describe fame as fickle. So you might be famous today, but suddenly tomorrow, no one cares who you are.
And that in itself is very stressful for somebody who likes being famous. And I always remember getting an insight into what it was like to be a famous performer and the stresses that are involved. I saw an interview by Shirley Bassey, who of course I'm a great fan of.
It was her birthday last week.
It was her birthday last week. And it was also Rod Stewart, who was 80, I believe. So he's still going, despite the excesses of his youth.
Yes.
So once if you've got a talent and you start to become famous, the pressure is then on you to keep on performing at a higher level.
Yes.
Or maintaining that level.
Yes.
Otherwise, people start to criticise. That must be an incredible stress on you.
Yes.
But
being famous, they say becoming famous is normally the easy part. Staying famous is the hard one, because there are two things that come around if you are famous. There is, of course, your own talent, your health, your age as you get older. So you might fade away as you get older. Also, there are other people as well who might be coming along. So you might be the greatest entertainer in the world, but suddenly there is a younger, more attractive entertainer coming along, and he is more sexy and more talented than you, and then slowly you get pushed out and this new person replaces you.
But of course, talent, if you've got real star quality talent, this is something that famous people often do. They often behave very badly, don't they? Or arrogantly when they become famous, because they know that people want them on television, want to see them perform. So bad behaviours start to come out, like you might speak to people in a bad way.
Yeah.
You might start to have lots of tantrums.
I'm not going to mention James Corden, but I am going to mention James Corden. James Corden apparently is one of the worst celebrities for being an absolute... Now, I want to say a really naughty word, but I can't. But let's just say he is someone who in a public situation, maybe a restaurant or something like that, he is not the most pleasant of people to know, because they become arrogant. They become full of their own ego. So they think the whole world has to move around them because they are so successful and famous.
Yes. I mean, people with talents, or another word to use for a talent is a gift. And I saw this once mentioned quite recently, actually, in a video I was watching. If you have a gift, then it's been given to you. So you've got that gift. So you shouldn't become arrogant about it because you've been given it. So you've been lucky to have that. It's not that you've acquired that. You've been given that gift, and it should be used responsibly. Talking of celebrities who walk out, in a flounce off and out of performances, walk off, they lose their temper. I was reading an interview about Maria Callas.
Oh, yes.
The other day. I don't know how I got into that, but I started watching. And she was quite famous for sort of losing her temper, having tantrums, walking out of performances. And you hear this a lot with performers. Pavarotti, I don't think he used to walk out of performances, but he was always used to back out of performances. He was known for that.
Okay.
But Maria Callas was famous for throwing tantrums, as was Shirley Bassey.
Can I just say, I forgive Maria Callas because, and there might be lots of people out there who've never seen her perform, she was a goddess.
Yeah, she was.
Of performing. She was she wasn't a star. That word is actually demeaning. She was one of the most talented human beings. Certainly with her singing, the style, her ability. So I will actually forgive Maria Callas.
Oh, yes. Well, this is it. If you are that talented, then you can probably do anything and get away with it because people will always want to see that talent. However, she's explained in an interview I saw, it was only 2 years before she died, because she died quite young, didn't she? I think it was 77, 78, something like that she died. And she was, the interviewer was berating her, there's a good word, attacking almost, isn't it? Berate. If you berate someone, you're bothering them, attacking them. For her moments when she loses her temper and walks out. Apparently, she said she often used to do it deliberately because all the other people around her, the musicians, were not matching up to her level of performance. And this was a method that she used. So if she threw a tantrum and walked out, it was often because the musicians were being lazy and weren't coming up to a level of performance that she wanted. And I saw this with Shirley Bassey as well. She used to get into these strops because the microphones weren't working properly. Other people weren't. They're so talented, they have to bring everybody up. They have to bring their level of performance up to their level. And sometimes throwing a tantrum is the only way of doing it, apparently.
That's it. Well, yes, I suppose another one that I always think of is Elton John. He was very well known for having real anger issues with people around him. And I think at least what I love about certain celebrities is they are willing to say that they are not perfect people, unlike James Corden, who often says, "Oh, I'm a bit stressed. Oh, I've got all my millions. I have to count my millions of pounds every day. It's very stressful. Oh, I want my egg done properly. Send that egg back." Apparently, he once had a real tantrum in a restaurant over an egg. And this is it, you see. This is what happens when you become famous. So I forgive Maria Callas. I don't forgive James Corden. One person has talent, the other one zero talent. And that is my take.
It's like beauty. If you've got this gift, if something's been given to you when you were born, you could say, a gift from God, you could say. Some people might look at it that way. Or you've got this genetic ability, you're beautiful, good looking or handsome. Then, you can understand why people will become bad. Their behaviour could become quite arrogant because they know they've got something that you want, and thus they don't have to be quite so nice to you as they otherwise would do.
Yes,
but you can almost forgive it, like as you say, like Maria Callas, Shirley Bassey, if they've got a great talent, because I don't know, you forgive some people everything, don't you? Even beautiful people get away with. Well, the phrase is, you could get away with murder if you are attractive enough. And I think that there is some truth to that.
Okay. I'm not sure how true that is. I would definitely leave that one there. So as we've seen today, fame is great. It brings lots of things. People know who you are. You get recognised in the supermarket, and you might, if you are lucky, you might make lots of money as well. However, fame has its ups and its downs. It can be a good thing or a bad thing.
Maybe we'll find out one day, Mr. Duncan, what fame is like.
I think, and well, I don't think, I know, I'm never going to be famous. I'm never ever going to be famous for two reasons. One, I don't think I will, and two, I don't think I want to be, because I've had a taste of that. So unless you become famous and then you have wealth so you can protect yourself from the outside world, because there are some crazy people out there. There are some slight wackos out there you see in the world, and that is what I would be afraid of, to be honest. Interesting subject, though, I have to say. I think that is a subject that you could talk about that subject every week and still come up with a different angle.
I should have asked, have we actually got anybody famous actually tuning into this channel? Unlikely, but you never know. If you are famous, whatever your particular talent is, please let us know.
Yes, although on the live chat, anyone could say anything, I suppose. You could say, "Oh yes, I'm Leonardo DiCaprio, and I'm just brushing up on my English, but I'm busy at the moment making lots and lots of movies and dating girls that are way, way younger than they should be." That sort of thing. Anyway, talking of people doing things to mislead you, Mr. Steve, because we live in a world. Would you say the world we live in, Steve, is fair or unfair?
I think it depends where you're born and the family you're born into. Yes, talent is not distributed evenly. If you want to achieve something in life, I think then if you apply the right mental attitude, I think you can achieve anything you want to. I do believe that.
Okay.
I mean, some people start off in life with an advantage that others don't.
Yeah.
For example,
Steve, I was looking for yes or no. So is life generally fair or is it unfair, would you say?
I think it's fair.
Yes, fairly fair. I think life is one of those things that comes along, and sometimes nice things happen and sometimes bad things happen. And the real secret of getting through life is just to keep going and not stop. But the reason why I mention that, Steve, is because there is something that can happen to people, something unpleasant.
Ooh.
unpleasant things that might happen to people. Because human beings, even though you are now watching two lovely human beings here on your screen, some people are not very nice. Some people can try to deceive you. And today we are going to look at a subject that will finish today's live stream and maybe even our careers. Here we go, Steve. It's on the screen right now. The phrase you see on the screen at the moment says, beware of the scam. This is something that is being talked about quite a lot at the moment in the news for various reasons. The word scam is an interesting word, and this is one word that you will hear used quite a lot when we are talking about people who are deceived, tricked, or misled into doing something. So when you think of the word scam, Mr. Steve, how would you define that word?
Yes, a process or a business opportunity that is fake. Somebody's trying to get you to do something, usually to get your money, and they are doing it. They are trying to defraud you out of money. That's the usual reason for a scam, is that somebody wants to get some of your money.
Yes.
And they are using practices that unsavory practices or illegal practices in order to deprive you of that money. Have you got an actual definition from a dictionary?
I have. I just wanted to see Mr. Steve and listen to Mr. Steve's version, because that is it, you see. What is a scam? A scam is something designed to mislead you into doing something that you would not normally do. That is it. A scam is something that a person will do. A person will try to mislead you, to get you to do something that you would not normally do. And I suppose one of the main things that we think about when we think about people who might deceive you or get you to do things that you wouldn't normally do often are related to two things: money and love. Believe it or not, they are the two things that people are often using to scam other people. By the way, the word scam can be used as a noun and also a verb. The thing, the trick, the misleading thing is a scam. And also as a verb, you scam someone. So there are many types of scam. Can you think of one, Mr. Steve?
Christine has mentioned one here, a scam to steal your identity.
Good.
Because the objective behind that, of course, is to get hold of your money. Because if they steal your identity, they can use that information to log into bank accounts, maybe savings or whatever.
One of the worst things is people use your identity then to borrow money from a bank.
That happened to me once.
Or buy something. So you might suddenly find on your bank statement that there is something that has been bought and you didn't even buy it. Somebody else has stolen your credit card or your debit card number and all of the identity connected to it, and they've been using that card to buy things, and then suddenly, as Steve just said, it happened to you, didn't it?
Yes, it happened to me. I wouldn't call it a scam. It was just sort of somebody stole my this was going back about 20 years. They stole 25 years ago, they stole from a hotel room. I was on a business trip.
Wow.
And I had to get changed quickly in between one meeting and another for the evening. and I just took my jacket off and left it in the room. And normally I would always put my sort of bank cards and any documents in a safe, if there is a safe in the room. But I didn't on this occasion because I was in a rush. And that one time I didn't, and I didn't notice till the next day, because they were very carefully. Somebody had in the hotel had got hold of the keys to the rooms, and the hotel security obviously wasn't very good, and they managed to break into a number of rooms, including mine, steal a credit card, and also my driver's license, which I used to carry around with me. I don't anymore. And the next morning, I didn't notice till the after I came to pay the hotel that the card was missing. And by that time, they had gone to a bank and used my driver's license and my card as ID to take out a loan.
Oh my goodness.
Of several £1,000s. I don't think you can do that anymore. I think the bank security is a lot better now. I got all the money back. The bank accepted it was their fault, and I got all the money back. But yes, that wasn't really a scam. Well, they were scamming the bank.
Yes, well, they actually are scamming, except for that you're just you're the conduit. You're the means.
Yeah, they were scamming the bank.
Yes, that's
in
it.
order to get money from out of the bank by using fake ID, which happened to be my ID.
But bank fraud is a common one because, as you say, you carry around so much personal information on your mobile phone. Smartphones nowadays are also quite vulnerable to that sort of thing as well. So when we talk about scams, Mr. Steve, we often think of this word on the screen now, deception. Deception. I like that word. I don't like when it happens, but deception is to trick or mislead a person by putting up a false front. Deception. You are appearing to be something you are not. And deception is probably one of the most common forms of scam, because quite often deception will be used against a person. They will use their own emotions to get that person to do something they would not normally do. So deception, you might appear to be someone you are not. You might appear to be a nice person or a kind person or a lovely person, but all you are doing is trying to get that person to give you things, maybe to give you money or their possessions, or maybe you are trying to get into their will, something like that. And deception is possibly one of the worst features of human behaviour. I think so.
Here's a word that Driss, thank you Driss, they con you.
Yes.
Is this a word you've got coming up, or shall we mention it?
You can mention it, because the word con, of course, is short for confidence. So you get a person's confidence. You con that person. You are using a person's confidence to get things from them. A confidence trickster is another one that we sometimes use, or con artist.
Con artist, yeah. Con man. Somebody who convinces you that they are legitimate and they've got your best interests at heart, and then they take you for money or something like that. But yeah, a con artist or a con person. Well, we would say con man is what we used to say.
That's it.
But yes, somebody who deceives you, brings you into their confidence, and then you trust them, and then they're just waiting for that moment that they can they need some money or something like that. I mean, a common one now is I get a lot on my mobile phone.
Well, we might be talking about that in a moment.
Okay.
We've got to move on because we are running out of time as well. Get rich quick. Mr. Steve, I have a great plan for you.
Oh, yes.
I've got to tell you about it. This plan will mean that in a year from now you will be financially secure. I guarantee that you can earn up to $50,000 a month.
Oh, Mr. Duncan.
Yes.
And I know you, so I trust you.
Do you want to know more?
Absolutely. I'm sick of my job.
Yeah.
See, often these people play on your fears or your insecurities. So yeah, Mr. Duncan, I want more money. I'm in debt. I hate my job. I want to be financially free, and you sound like you've got an ideal proposition.
All of those things are true, by the way. But yes, it's a great scheme. Now, all you have to do is sign up, and you have to give me. Now, there is a fee that you have to pay to join this thing.
Oh, right.
But it's only £1,000. But it's only £1,000. But I guarantee, by the end of this year, you will be earning $50,000 a month.
So what's the £1,000 for, Mr. Duncan?
Well, that's a registering fee. And that will also allow me to send you some of the information about my lovely scheme that I have that will make you really, really rich.
Right.
So as you can see from that, I am promising Mr. Steve something that probably is not true or real. Get rich quick. There is no such thing as getting rich quick.
Unless you win the lottery.
Well, yes, but then even that, the odds of that are so small, so tiny. You have no chance of winning the lottery. But if a person offers you something that seems too good to be true, it is too good to be true. It is not real. It is fake. They are trying to get money from you. Get rich quick. No one gets rich quickly unless, of course, they are lucky enough to pick the right numbers in the lottery. But otherwise, it takes hard work, lots and lots of motivation, lots and lots of blood, sweat and tears as well.
Yes, probably. We saw a programme the other night about, and in fact, I got involved. I won't say what it is. Don't worry, Mr. Duncan.
Okay.
Let's just call it a multi-level marketing organisation.
It has a very particular shape. If you've ever been to Egypt, they have a lot of those things there.
Sometimes referred to as a pyramid scheme.
Oh, okay. I wasn't going to use the word. There you go.
Where you are recruited by somebody, usually somebody you know, who says they've got this wonderful business opportunity, and it could be makeup, it could be all sorts of different things. It could be health drinks, vitamins, and the sort of the way it works is that you are supposed to sell some of this product to your friends, and then you will also recruit some other friends to do some selling, and then they recruit other people, and then they show you this model whereby suddenly you'll be massively rich in about a year's time. Based on the fact that you're recruiting all these other people to sell products for you.
Can I just stop you there, Steve, for a sec?
Yes.
Because we've got to make sure we're clear on this. That sort of selling is not a scam. So a scam is so technically, I know where you're coming from, but technically it is not illegal or a scam, because most of these companies still exist and they haven't been closed down. But I know what you mean, Steve. It is very easy to get sucked in to these things, especially when the promise of fortune is just out of reach. And all you have to do is give some money, give some of your time, and choose lots and lots of other people to help your business grow. Unfortunately, reality is not quite the same.
Yes, usually you've got there's something, and they sort of fish. Now, fishing, somebody put that on earlier, which is quite common on the internet on emails phishing. It's PHISHING, I think it's spelt, different to the sort of fishing for actual fish in the sea.
Yes, I've put the word on the screen.
That's it. Somebody mentioned that earlier, so thanks for that. Is where somebody is trying to get your identity usually, or get you to log in to click on a link somewhere to get your identity, and they usually use sort of urgency or fear as a means of doing it. For example, I get quite a lot on my phone where they say to me, "Oh, your delivery by Royal Mail has been delayed." Royal Mail is our main postal service here, and it's a text that says, your parcel has been delayed. Please click here to get it re-delivered or something like that. And of course, it's a con.
Yes. Because the other of course is just somebody promising you something, normally large sums of money. Now I have my email address, and Steve, I can tell you I get around 500 fake spam junk emails every month in my account, and many of them are lonely widows who have $20 million that they want to give to me for some reason. They've chosen me out of all the people on the planet. They've decided to send me all of their lovely, vast, massive fortune, and all I have to do is send the cover charge for the transfer. So I have to send them some money first so they can send me their millions and millions of dollars to my bank account. But the sum of money I have to send is normally quite small, maybe £1,000 or £2,000, which is small when you compare it to the millions I'm going to receive. The only problem is it's a scam. It isn't.
It's a scam.
It used to be Nigerian princes and Nigerian millionaires who were transferring their money from their funds, and they wanted to give it to, well, I had lots of offers many years ago. Lots of Nigerian princes and businessmen were all trying to send me millions and millions of dollars. Unfortunately, I never took up the offer because they were all, unfortunately, scams.
And here's another word from Valentin: a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one. Again, it's a kind of scam involving sort of investments. I think that's more sort of involved with investments, where you give your money to somebody who promises to sort of double it or something by investing it on the in these wonderful companies that they alone know are going to be successful.
That's it.
And you give them your money, and they will promise, in 2 years to double it by investing it somewhere on the stock market. But in reality, they just take your money, and they don't invest it at all, probably. And so that's what a Ponzi scheme is. It's more sort of to do with financial aspects.
And of course, that area is incredibly risky. So this is the reason why nowadays, if you are going to trust someone to invest your money, you've got to make sure you can see that person. If you can be local to that person, you know them personally, and you're not just doing it through the internet. That is the problem nowadays. We have become so used to using the internet for everything. We forget that the person at the other end might not be the person they say they are. They could be someone who is trying to trick you into giving them your money. And it does happen quite often.
And the rule of thumb is, isn't it, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is.
As I said earlier. And anything that's offered to you, if it seems great, like if I said to Mr. Steve I had an amazing business idea and all he had to do was invest £10,000, I think Steve would definitely say, I don't think so. I think you are trying to scam me. And of course, the final one, Mr. Steve, is love. Oh, love. I think this is the worst of all the types of scam. When you use a person's emotions, maybe they are a lonely person, divorced, or even widowed. Maybe their husband or wife has died and they've been left some money. A person who is targeted, and the way they use that person's emotions to get everything from them. I think that is the worst type of scam.
And the other one, of course, is that a lot of these scammers prey on the elderly. They play on, or they try to take advantage of, I should put it that way, someone's vulnerabilities. And age is a kind of vulnerability. And maybe some people, I mean, my mother got caught out by this.
Yes. But I'm talking about huge sums of money, a person that comes into your life. And I don't think you have to be old, though. You might be lonely. You could be in your 40s and lonely, but you have lots of money, and then you start looking around, maybe on a dating site, and then you think you found the right person, and they seem lovely. They seem so charming and witty. They seem like that could be the one. That could be the person you want to spend the rest of your life with. All they need... they need is some money, and they will slowly over time introduce these things into the relationship, whatever it is. Money will slowly become a big feature of the relationship, and they are using your emotional weakness, which is looking for someone, looking for love. You want someone to be near, to trust, to have, and to hold.
Yes, but certainly as well as that, it's anything that whatever your vulnerability is, there will be somebody out there who will try to exploit it for their own benefit. So quite often my mother used to get lots of phone calls because she was elderly, living on her own, particularly during the pandemic period. She felt very lonely, and many elderly people get these phone calls, and my mother just wanted to talk to somebody, and she would get into conversations with whoever was on there. We used to warn Mum, if you don't know them, don't have anything to do it. But one of them managed to get through and con my mother into signing up for something. I think it was insurance that she didn't need. Wasn't a huge sum of money, but I remember looking through her bank. I used to go through my mum's bank statements to help her, every month. She used to like me to do that. And I noticed one month there was this new payment, £120 a month or something. And I said, "What's this, Mum?" She said, "I don't know." Anyway, we looked into it. It turned out this company, we found the bank, and it was a scam. They were phoning people up and getting them to... They would prey on elderly people who were very trusting, maybe, and maybe a bit lonely, and con them into signing up to, some kind of fake insurance policy.
Yeah.
But it's everywhere. There's always somebody out there trying to scam you or con you into something.
And there's one of the most worrying ones is the one that involves your need for another human being to be with you in your life. I think that of all the cons, of all the tricks that a human being can play on another, using a person's emotions or their weakness, a moment of weakness where they might be lonely or they feel vulnerable, and that is the moment when people like that will try to get what they can from someone else. I think they are the worst of the worst. They should be thrown into prison forever and ever. But quite often they can take the money, Steve, and then vanish
Yes,
and
that's right.
That's the worst part. Absolutely disgusting.
Anyway,
people.
we hope none of you have been scammed or conned. I mean, at work we get a lot of training at work to look out for phishing emails. They're always putting us on training courses so that we can recognise those. And there are certain things that you can... I mean, they get cleverer and cleverer at disguising where they're from. But yeah, they just want you to click on a link which then identifies you, and they can then get your computer filled with malware, or get into the company's systems or your own system.
Yes, of course. The common one we used to get was someone would phone and say they were from Microsoft, and that they've noticed your computer has a problem, and so they will talk you into giving them access to your computer so they can remotely use the computer. Now that one is not so popular anymore because most people are aware that Microsoft will never ever phone you at your house. There is no way that someone at Microsoft is looking at everyone's computers to make sure they're working okay. So that doesn't exist. That is 100% a scam.
Here's another word, a charlatan.
Oh.
Faribort's put that on. Thanks for that. Yes, a charlatan. A con man.
A person who pretends to be something they are not.
Yes, a con person. And they might be trying to get something from you. Con artist, charlatan. I think you can use those words interchangeably.
There are other words I want to use, but I can't use them here on YouTube, unfortunately. It's a shame. Well, I think... Look, have you noticed what time it is, Steve?
I have, and I knew it was getting late because I was feeling hungry and in need of a cup of tea.
Yes, me too. I have to say, I forgot to bring my water with me into the studio, so I didn't have it actually here with me. So I took a big risk today, just in case my throat became dry. I think the reason is I'm wearing my scarf, you see, so my throat has stayed nice and warm.
Right, it's been great to be here, Mr. Duncan.
Yes.
I can put down my notebook and go into the kitchen and make you a cup of tea and some of my not hot crust bun bread, some of my tea cake bread.
Ooh.
Or sultanas and butter. I'm going to put pure butter on today for you.
Oh my.
Even though you're trying to lower your cholesterol.
Yeah. Well, as the doctor did say, you can still have a treat now and again, so you don't have to completely cut out all of the stuff you enjoy eating. Sometimes you can give yourself a little treat, which is what we will be doing in a moment.
I don't feel as though I've paid that much attention to the live chat today. We've been so busy talking about our subjects. I haven't really had time to mention all the lovely people that have been on there today, but maybe next time. So I look forward to seeing you all again next Sunday. Mr. Duncan will be posting new lessons and he'll be doing his live stream again on Wednesday. So tune into that and I'll see you all a week from now.
Thank you, Mr. Steve. There he goes. Give us a lovely smile and a wave. There he goes. That was Mr. Steve. So now you know who Mr. Steve is, and he will be back with us next Sunday. Of course, we will have lots of other things to talk about next Sunday as well. I hope you've enjoyed the last 2 hours. 2 hours and 13 minutes we've been with you. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I will be back with you on Wednesday Live, and look out for some new lessons as well. During the week I will be posting new English lessons as well. Thank you for your company. See you later. You can watch this live stream again with lovely captions in your own language later on. And I will see you on Wednesday live from 2 p.m. UK time. And of course, until then, you know what's coming next. You do. Take care of yourselves. Enjoy the rest of your day. Take care of yourself and each other. A big hello to you wherever you are. And of course, ta-ta for now. See you on Wednesday.